Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about Pluto transiting the 12th house in a natal chart. Now, on average, Pluto will traverse a house for approximately 21 years. However, if your house size is a little bit larger than average, then Pluto will be in there for a little bit of a longer duration. If your house size is a little bit smaller than average, then Pluto will be in there for a little bit of a shorter period. Well, anyway, people, first thing I look at when Pluto transits one's natal 12th house, well, this could be a time, Pluto's can be about obliteration and destruction. And positively, I mean, 12th house is about our limitations, our restrictions. I think they could also be self-imposed ones. They could be, when you have this transit, it could be perhaps the obliteration of these limitations. It could be ones where you really become cognizant of and aware of which ones are self-imposed and the ones you can eliminate. And Pluto can be that eliminator and get you ready for that transition when Pluto goes into your first house, where you're actually able to embark on your own transformation. But before that, if you can get rid of the things that you feel are inhibiting you or restricting you, then you could proceed forward with your own personal transformation. And anyway, another thing is that the 12th house, what's interesting is that the 12th house is associated with mental illness. Now, I'm not saying that everybody that has a Pluto transit in their natal 12th house is going to succumb to some mental illness. However, keep in mind, Pluto is connected with what's compulsive and what's obsessive. And could somebody maybe get OCD during this time when this happens, or could it maybe bring it something that they felt had more control over, and it maybe resurfaces and it's time to actually do something more strong about it? I think it is possible. And I would say, especially if you have, like, say you're getting like the transit makes an inconjunct, say, to a 6th house planet during this time, and that could really that might add to it a little, add that propensity. The propensity for this is a little bit greater than average, but I think in most cases this would not be the case. But anyway, it's also, we look at the 12th house as also about our hidden enemies and hidden adversaries, and this could be a time where perhaps these people are obliterated. I'm not saying dying. It could represent the death of one, but generally a figurative one. It could be one where maybe one is unveiled and defeated somehow, whether it's through legal process or what have you. But this is the thing where I could see this happening in a lot of instances with Pluto transiting one's natal 12th house. Now, also, this is the time where one can be really strongly introspective and put a lot of really a lot of intensity into their introverted side and being by themselves. If you're somebody that's generally an extroverted or gregarious person, this could be a time where you might surprise some people and you might really intensify that me time, that alone time, and doing things more in solitude and seclusion than usual. Now, this is also a period where you look at this in some isolated cases. Keep in mind that Pluto is connected with what's corrupt and what's nefarious. The 12th house does rule imprisonment. And in some cases, it could indicate, in some isolated cases, it could indicate some kind of imprisonment. Keep in mind the 12th house corresponds with Pisces, the sign of illusion, and it's connected with illusion and deception. And maybe there, in some instances, you might have somebody maybe in jail, maybe for something they didn't do, some false incarceration, and in some isolated cases. Now, this is also the time where you look at a way to put a death to things that might have led you to set yourself undoing in the past, and taking a look at these things very strongly. And also, the 12th house is connected with our fears as well. And this is a time where Pluto might bring them to the surface, and you might be able to destroy these fears, confront them head on, and obliterate these fears. And this is something that you may very well be able to do during this transit. Now, it's also important, keep in mind that Pluto is about obsession and fixation on something. And it could be something where you might become too strongly fixated on your own solitude, your own seclusion, and really in doing things really in isolation. And it's always important to remember it's good to have that private time to yourself, but it's also important to remember that you don't have to really become overly obsessed with it. And another thing too is that Pluto is associated, could be connected with the occult, the supernatural, astrology, and these could be some things that you might be showing a strong interest in private, in being in seclusion and by yourself. And also the 12th house is associated with the metaphysical. So in Pluto is really not about what's superficial. It could be very deep. And really, this is a time where you might, if you're interested in astrology, you might go even deeper into it during this transit than usual. Well, anyway, people, it's also important to look at the aspects, if any, that are made from this transit to your natal planets and points, as this could impact the transit. Now, let's say, for example, that transiting Pluto is making a square in conjunct or opposition to your natal Mercury. Well, this could be a time where you may perhaps be overly fixated or obsessed, perhaps with some kind of ideas, and in regardless whether they're preposterous or not. Now, being in the 12th, this could be perhaps maybe tied in to maybe some ideas connected with maybe with your private life and things that are going on behind the scenes, and things that you might be working on in seclusion. Now, let's take another example. Let's say that transiting Pluto is making a conjunction to your natal Venus. Well, this could be a period of perhaps transformation of monetary situation. And then being in the 12th house, this could be connected with what is in solitude, what is in seclusion, or it could be something like connected with the 12th house kind of field, such as something connected with the metaphysical, like astrology, or working in some healing profession, working in a hospital or in a prison, for example. So, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Pluto transiting the 12th house in a natal chart. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about the North Node transiting the 1st house in a natal chart. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.